What is up, my guys, gals, and pals? My name is TheElPanda, and today I'm gonna see if I can beat a hardcore Nuzlocke in Pokemon Heartgold with only rock types. And the rules for this Nuzlocke are gonna be that you can only catch the first rock type encounter of any area. If a Pokemon faints, it's considered dead and unusable. You cannot use items in battle unless it is a held item. The battle mode has to be on set at all times. And last but certainly not least, we cannot overlevel the gym leader's ace or the champion's ace. Rock-type Pokemon have always been pretty interesting to me, as they typically have higher attack and really high defense, but they trade it off for special defense and speed. And also, they have a lot of weaknesses, so this might be a little bit difficult for me, but I'm going to try my best to see what we can do. It may seem like there are a lot of rock Pokemon in Pokemon Heartgold, but after you take out the 5 encounters for fossil Pokemon, 5 encounters for the Pokemon in the Safari Zone that you can't get until after the national dex, and the 1 Relicanth that you can't get until Kanto, we only have 7 left. But since we can't trade in this game, we can't use Golem, Rhyperior, or Steelix. And with all that out of the way, it's time to embark on our journey to the Johto region. And we start our journey by naming ourselves Big P because TheElPanda did not fit. And look at that, it looks like we have the master bedroom of this house and we have a Wii. We're living the high life. I wonder if we have Wii Sports. After an intense game of tennis and Wii Sports, we head over to Professor Elm's lab where we can pick up our first Pokemon. I end up choosing Totodile, so our rival will choose Chikorita, making things quite difficult for us down the line. With my new Totodile in hand, I get challenged by this trainer that walks up to me and calls me a wimp. Now you're asking for it, buddy. After a battle of just using Scratch, our Totodile wins against the Chikorita with only 2 HP remaining. Who's the wimp now? I beat him so bad that he lost his trainer card running away. Jet? What a weird name. He must not be from around here. Now that we have Pokeballs, we're ready for our first encounter on Route 46, which is a Geodude. After catching her, we name her the Boulder, and it looks like she's got a Jolly nature, which is minus special attack and plus speed. And she's got the Sturdy ability. The nature's not the best for Geodude, but certainly not the worst, so it'll be okay. We train the Boulder against Caterpie and Metapod until she hits level 6, and then we're ready to take on Joey. The Boulder, use Tackle! Wow, that was really easy. Since the Boulder knew such a strong move, we were able to finish the route with ease and head towards Violet City. We head into the Pokemon Center, and believe it or not, this is actually where we get our second Pokemon. There's this guy named Primo in the Pokemon Center, and he's some big hotshot from Kanto who apparently has his own TV show, and if you can prove you're a big enough fan of him, he'll give you a Pokemon egg. Luckily for us, this guy doesn't know about the internet, so we just look it up, and then we act like a big fan, and we can get this Slugma egg for free. With the Slugma egg in hand, we run around Violet City like a madman trying to hatch this boy. I name him Ozai. He's got a nice and neutral quirky nature with the Flame Body ability, and since he's not a rock type yet, we're not going to be using him in the Sprout Tower other than switch training to make sure our Geodude is not too high level for the gym. And you'd think Sprout Tower would be a difficult part of our journey as we have a ground rock type Pokemon and they have Bellsprout, but we got Rock Thrower level 13 on the Boulder and she sweeps every team easily. We get the TM70 flash from the old man in the Sprout Tower, and the only thing going through my mind is, can we beat the gym? Of course we can beat the gym, we have Rock Throw. These poor birds never saw it coming. A few Rock Throws later, and we have the Zephyr Badge, and we're on our way to Azalea Town. Right before Azalea Town, we find an Onyx in Union Cave, which we can use, so we go ahead and catch her and name her Lynn. Lynn has a sassy nature, which is minus speed and plus special defense, and for our fastest Pokemon, this is not a great nature. After training Lynn and the Boulder up, we go to Bugsy's gym and attempt to get our second gym badge of the run. Bugsy starts out with Scyther and I start out with Lynn. Predicting the U-turn, I go for Rock Throw, but the Scyther just focus energies. The Rock Throw connects for about 50% damage and pops the Scyther Citrus Berry. Scyther then uses U-turn, which gets a crit, hitting us down to 10 HP and sends out Metapod. With the Rock Throw, I do about half damage and then I bring out the Boulder to finish up the fight. Metapod starts using Tackle on me and I use Rock Polish with the Boulder to make sure I'm faster than the Scyther whenever it comes out. After 3 Rock Polishes, I use Rock Throw with the Boulder to finish off the Metapod. Bugsy sends Scyther back out and I use Rock Throw with Geodude, but it misses. This gives Scyther a ample opportunity to use Focus Energy and get ready for a crit. Scyther goes for a priority quick attack while we keep missing Rock Throw. After we get hit by a few more quick attacks, we finally manage to land a Rock Throw, taking the Scyther out. Next, Bugsy sends out his Kakuna, which we immediately one-shot. And with that, we've earned ourselves the second gym badge in the Johto League, and we're off to the next one. But before we even make it to Ilex Forest, we're challenged to another battle by none other than Jet, our rival. This is going to be the hardest rival battle this entire run, just because we don't have any answers for his Bayleaf with Reflect and Synthesis. But I've come up with a little bit of a strategy to try to negate the losses that we're going to have to take on this one. I start off with Lin, and he chooses Ghastly. I start hardening immediately, and he starts spiting me because for some reason if I use setup moves, he matches them with Spite. So once I get +6 hardened, I go ahead and use a Rock Throw and actually get a crit to take him out. All I have to say is thank God he didn't use Curse, because if he had, we probably would have lost. Jet sends out Bayleaf and immediately uses a Razor Leaf, but since I'm at +6 defense, it only does 10 damage. I retaliate by using his Screech and lowering Bayleaf's defense, but Bayleaf just negates it by using Reflect, but I did predict that they would use Reflect, so I use a Rock Throw to hit him at least for some damage. Next, I know Bayleaf's going to go for Synthesis just because I know they love being on full health, so I go and use a Screech to lower it to -4 defense. Once Bayleaf is at -4 defense, I start using Rock Throw to get some chip damage off while Bayleaf poisons me. Knowing this poison is like a death sentence for Lin, I used Rock Throw to just get some more damage off, and she crits to take the Bayleaf out. With Bayleaf out of the way, it's a super easy win because all Jet has now is just a Zubat. I used Rock Throw and Lin outspeeds the Zubat, bringing him down to half health because Reflect's still up, and the Zubat retaliates by using Supersonic and confusing me. With Lin poisoned and confused, it's a race against the clock to make sure Lin doesn't die. I use another Rock Throw, and luckily Lin breaks through confusion and takes out the Zubat. And with that, we've beaten our rival Jet for a second time with absolutely no deaths, and I am astonished by this. I wholeheartedly thought I was going to have to sacrifice Lin in this battle because I didn't see any other way other than crits to beat the Bayleaf. But thankfully, Lady Luck was on our side today. Once we enter Ilex Forest, we run into a kid who's lost his Farfetch.
Moments later.
The Farfetch Karate Master gives us the HM01 cut, and we head back to their house where the kid will give us the charcoal. Running back into the forest, we find a man repeatedly headbutting a tree and telling me that I should too. Are you okay, bud? He offers to teach Lin Headbutt, and I go ahead and take that opportunity because Headbutt's a 70 power move, and it's stronger than anything we have right now. While heading towards Whitney's gym, we find the daycare couple, and I think this is a perfect place to put Slugma until we can use them at level 38. So we'll see you at the 8th gym, buddy. Shortly after, I head into Goldenrod City, where we immediately go to the gym because I had to level up both my Pokemon to level 18 for the rival fights, so we're dangerously close to the level cap. And since there were trainers we couldn't skip in this gym, we accidentally leveled the boulder up to level 20 before the gym, meaning that Lin is gonna have to solo this gym all by herself. Sorry, Lin. And with all the gym leaders out of the way, we're ready for Whitney. Whitney starts off with a Clefairy, and I obviously go out with Lin. And since Clefairy doesn't really know any good moves against Lin, I start hardening up. Once I'm at +6 defense, I just start using Rock Throw, and Lin hits another crit Rock Throw. Lin is out for blood today, guys. After Whitney uses a Super Potion and a few more Rock Throws later, Clefairy is down. And next we're onto the Miltank that is the bane of so many people's existences, but since Lin's a female, I'm not too worried. Miltank starts off by using Stomp, and I use a Screech to bring it down to -2 defense. After that, the Miltank gets 3 Stomp flinches in a row, bringing me down to the red, and that scares me, so I start using Headbutts to make sure I don't miss because Rock Throw has 90% accuracy. And thankfully, we're able to consistently hit our Headbutts, which means we do get some HP back with this Shell Bell, which honestly saves Lin's life in this run. After trading blows with this Miltank for a while, we're finally able to get off one last headbutt at 8 HP to take the Miltank out and win our 3rd gym badge of the run. With our 3rd gym badge in hand, we're ready to get our 4th Pokemon, the static encounter of Sudowoodo, which we catch named Toph, which also has a jolly nature, which doesn't hurt Sudowoodo, but also it's not really helpful. I can't believe I got a jolly nature on everyone but Onyx. Also, if you guys have caught on to the naming convention yet, go ahead and comment it down below and I'll pin the first person who gets it right. After doing some grinding, I get Toph and Lin up to level 24 and 25 respectively, and I teach Toph Attract because we're going to need that against Jet's Meganium. And speak of the devil, he shows up at the Burn Tower and it is time for our 3rd rival battle. He goes out to his Ghastly and I start with the same strategy by going out to Lin first. But this time we're all about offense. I use a Rock Throw with Lin, Ghastly retaliates with a Mean Look, and then I'm able to take out Ghastly with another Rock Throw, getting us through through the first Pokemon unscathed. And we all know what's coming next as Jet sends out his Bayleaf. I use Sandstorm to up the special defense of my Pokemon. Bayleaf retaliates with a magical leaf, taking Lyn out. It looks like we weren't as lucky as we were last time, unfortunately. I bring out Toph and the Bayleaf goes for Poison Powder, but luckily Toph was able to evade it. And I have Toph put on her feminine charm so the Bayleaf falls in love with her. And predicting the Poison Powder, I went for a Mimic, but the Bayleaf was immobilized by love, so it didn't do anything, sadly. And after trying the Mimic strat for one more turn, I realized this wasn't going to work, so I started going for Rock Throws. After 3 straight turns of being immobilized by love, the Bayleaf was finally able to get off a Poison Powder. But I had prepared for this, and Toph had a Pecha Berry on her, curing her of the poison. And after one more Rock Throw, the Bayleaf lives on what has to be 1 HP. But thankfully, the next turn, the Bayleaf is still immobilized by love, and Toph uses a Rock Throw and actually gets a crit. Overkill much? Next up, Jet sends out a Magnemite, which misses Supersonic 3 times in a row, giving me the chance to hit him with a Rock Throw 3 times and KO him. Lastly, Jet sends out his Zubat, which misses a Supersonic and goes down to a singular Rock Throw. I can't believe Toph took out 3 of his Pokemon and didn't even take 1 HP of damage. That's insane. And with the rival battle out of the way, we head on to Morty's gym, where after defeating all the trainers, the boulder evolves into a Graveler. And with that, we're ready to take on the 4th gym leader, Morty. He sends out Ghastly and I send out Toph because at level 25, Toph learns Feint Attack, which is our only saving grace for this gym. Ghastly starts off by using Mean Look and I use Feint Attack back to one-hit KO him. Next up, Morty sends out Gengar, which is the only Pokemon in this gym I'm truly afraid of. But fortunately, he wastes a turn to Mean Look me while I go for a Feint Attack, bringing him down to below half, which pops his Citrus Berry. Now that Gengar's at 75% health, I change my strategy and use an Attract while he uses a Hypnosis, which luckily misses, or this could have gone bad pretty easily. Unfortunately, next turn, the Gengar breaks through the Attract and hits us with a Hypnosis, putting us to sleep. Over the next 2 turns while Toph is asleep, Gengar is immobilized with Love and is not able to hit his Sleeping Beauty. On the 3rd turn, the Gengar breaks through the Love and is able to use a Sucker Punch, waking Toph up, so we retaliate with a Feint Attack. Unfortunately, this brings him down to a sliver of HP, meaning Morty is going to heal him next turn, and we have to do this all over again. Fortunately for us, we got a Feint Attack off on the turn. Morty healed Gengar, bringing him down to half health, and then the next turn he's immobilized by Love, meaning that Toph gets the victory against Gengar. Next up, Morty sends out Haunter, and these guys aren't too much of an issue since Feint Attack from Toph will one-hit KO both of them, but the Haunter outspeeds, putting Toph to sleep with a Hypnosis. While Toph's asleep, Haunter uses Dream Eater, and I guess he interrupted a good dream because Toph woke up the next turn and used Feint Attack to take out the Haunter in one hit. Morty sends out his second and last Haunter and hits us with a Nightshade, bringing us down to half, but with one Feint Attack, it's over for the Haunter, and we get the 4th gym badge for Morty. Once we get to Olivine City, we find a fishing guru who loves passing down the tradition of fishing, and he gives us a good rod. This means we can finally get a new encounter, and we spend about 20 minutes fishing for this 5% chance, but finally we get a Corsola. And since it had recovery, it took a while, but finally we were able to catch the Corsola in an Ultra Ball. I named the Corsola Katara, which has a Careful nature, which is minus special attack and plus special defense. Probably one of the worst ones for Corsola. Along with that, she has the Hustle ability, which just lowers base accuracy but boosts the attack stat when Corsola's a special attacker. But one good thing that came out of this that I didn't realize is that Corsola can actually learn Shadow Ball that we got from Morty. This certainly helps our moveset diversity, and now we finally have a special attacker with an actually powerful move. Along with that, we had to teach Katara Surf to get to Cianwood, so this actually makes her probably our strongest Pokemon on the team currently. And speaking of Cianwood, this is where we can get our next encounter by smashing a few rocks. A few items and a lot of rock smashes later, we finally run into our next encounter, Shuckle. We catch our namer Suyin, which has a naughty nature, minus attack and plus special defense, so not the worst nature. After teaching Suyin both Flash and Rock Tomb, we had to get the special potion from the doctor in Cianwood. After training everyone up, it's time for the next gym leader, Chuck. Chuck sends out Primate, and I start with Toph. The Primate starts setting up double teams so I can't hit him, so I start using Feint Attack. And even though they don't do much, it's enough to break the focus on Primate's only fighting move, Focus Punch. And after 4 turns of Feint Attack, that's enough to take the Primate out. Next up, Chuck sends in his Poliwrath, which is probably the scariest Pokemon in this gym. So I send in Suyin to start setting up Flash. Luckily, Hypnosis missed on the first turn, and every Flash flash after that caused him to miss every other move that wasn't a body slam. Once the Poliwrath was at -6 accuracy, I had Suyin use Rock Tomb to start lowering his speed. After 10 Rock Tombs, the Poliwrath is still at 70% health, so I set up a safeguard so our team can't be put to sleep, and I bring in Katara. And since the Poliwrath had Water Absorb, Surf was out of the question, meaning I could only hit it with Shadow Balls with Katara. And with Shadow Ball doing such little damage to Poliwrath, we popped the Citrus Berry, and Chuck healed him with 2 Hyper Potions. But after 12 Shadow Balls, we were finally able to get the Poliwrath down. And after all that, Chuck says that he thinks we're worthy of having the Storm Badge. And with our newfound Fly HM, we're able to head to Mahogany Town and take on the Red Gyarados. I thought he'd be a little bit harder because he was a red. Once we get back to shore, the Dragon Master Lance is there, and he asked us to investigate a souvenir shop which he thinks Team Rocket took over. And then he just takes his Dragonite and flies off. You know, if I didn't have Fly, I'd be kind of screwed. But luckily I caught a Pokemon exactly for this, so we fly right next to him on his Dragonite, all the way back to Mahogany Town. And one Poke Center trip later, we're ready to rumble with Lance, so we go into the souvenir shop, where Lance has Dragonite use Hyper Beam on someone? Like, Lance, I know they're Team Rocket, but you can't go around murdering people like that. And then he runs up to the other dude in the room and pushes him out of the way, revealing a staircase. I mean, just think about it, Lance. What if Team Rocket forced these people to do this, and you're just out here killing them? And since we're with the champion of Johto, we breeze through all the Team Rocket grunts. And when we run into Adriana, the Team Rocket Elite member, Lance also comes in and helps us out with a double battle. But since Lance is the champion and all, I thought he could do all the work, so I just pulled out Suyin and set up a bunch of flashes while his Dragonite took everyone out. With Team Rocket's plans foiled, we can go back to the Pokemon Center, heal up, and get ready for our next opponent. Gym Leader Price. Price starts off by sending out a Seal, and I start strong with Toph. The Seal starts by setting up Hail, and Toph goes for Rock Slide but misses. After getting hit with 1 turn of Hail, the Seal decides to use Rest, which means we get 2 free turns to hit it, which we do with the next Rock Slide, meaning that Price is going to heal up his Seal, and on the second turn we're able to use Feint Attack to bring him down to 60% health. And I guess all those rocks made him real tired because he uses Rest again. But after using the Feint Attack and Rock Slide combo one more time, the Seal's fate was sealed. Next up, Price goes out to his Piloswine, which is really the only scary Pokemon on his team for us. And he promptly starts using Hail to boost his evasion with Snow Cloak, which really works because I couldn't hit 2 low kicks in a row. After getting hit by a Blizzard and missing another low kick, I know it's time to switch Toph out. I bring out Katara, who's able to use Surf, but not before getting hit by a Blizzard and a Mud Bomb, bringing her down to just 20 HP. Knowing I can't leave Katara in any longer, I bring out Suyin, who immediately gets Ice Fanged and frozen. Thankfully, after only 1 turn of Suyin being frozen, she thaws out and is able to use Rest to get all the health back. Whew. While Suyin was asleep, the Piloswine misses 2 Blizzards and then sets up Hail on the last turn that Suyin wakes up. And not wanting to be frozen, I decide to set up a safeguard with her. Knowing that there's only one way to defeat Piloswine, I have Suyin do what Suyin does best: Flash. And since I'm lowering the accuracy of the Piloswine, I guess the game's AI also wants to lower my accuracy, so he goes for Mud Bomb over and over again as I flash. After the Piloswine is at -6 accuracy, I start using Rock Tomb to lower his speed so we can get a free switch in. But after looking at my team and realizing Katara had such low health, I realized that there was only one way I was going to get through this battle, and that was to rest stall the Piloswine.
1 hour later.
And after a few close calls with Ice Fang, Suyin's finally able to get the Piloswine to start struggling to deal damage to itself. Which on the last turn, the Piloswine gets a crit struggle. I have never seen that before. And that does enough recoil damage to take the Piloswine out. Next up, Press sends out his last Pokemon, Dugong, which immediately starts hitting Suyin with Aurora Beams. On the turn Suyin wakes up, I have her use Flash on the Dugong to lower the accuracy on only 11 health, hoping that I wouldn't get hit again by Aurora Beam. And it pays off after the Dugong misses the next Aurora Beam and I'm able to rest back up to full. And over the course of about 5 minutes, I use Suyin to rest stall and then Flash until the Dugong's at -6 accuracy, so that I can then bring on Katara at 15 HP to hopefully finish this battle. Thankfully, on the first turn, Katara is able to evade the Ice Shard from Dugong, but on the second turn, not so lucky, and we get hit down to 9 HP. Thankfully, we're able to use Recover 2 turns in a row to bring our health back up to full, and we start throwing Ancient Power at the Dugong, doing about 30% health each time. But unluckily for us, Price still has a full restore, and after the Dugong is brought low by 2 more Ancient Powers, he uses Rest. With only 1 more Ancient Power remaining, I use it and try to get the boost, but unfortunately do not. So this means only one thing: we have to start spamming Shadow Ball and hope we get a special defense drop on the Dugong. After about 10 turns of the Dugong rest stalling me, I finally am able to bring his special defense down 2 stages and then hit him with a crit surf while he's asleep, so he goes down. Talk about one of the most annoying gym battles I've ever done. And with that, we're able to get the Glacier Badge from Price. Once we're done in Mahogany Town, we head over to Ulvine City to give the secret medicine to the Ampharos. Yeah, I got here as fast as I could, Jasmine. Trust me. And I guess he was feeling better because the Ampharos then goes on to light up the lighthouse. This thing worked so fast. I wish we had real medicine like that. With that done, there's only one more thing to do in Ulvine City, and that's take on Jasmine. And since the gym trainers in there were grateful we healed Amphi, we don't have to battle them and we go straight to her. Jasmine sends out Magnemite and I send out the Boulder. And out of Jasmine's entire team, Steelix is the only one I'm scared of. So I start using defense curls until I'm at +3 defense with the Boulder. Luckily, the only move Magnemite was trying to use was Sonic Boom, and it missed 3 times in a row. And on the next turn, the Boulder outspeeds because of the jolly nature it has and uses Earthquake and one-shots it. Next up, Jasmine sends out her Steelix, which we also outspeed and deal about 50% damage with our first Earthquake. Steelix retaliates back with an Iron Tail, doing about 30 damage because we're at +3 defense, but it also drops our defense 1 state. Next turn, we're able to get another Earthquake off, which brings the Steelix down to a sliver of HP and pops a Citrus Berry. The next Iron Tail brings us down to only 29 HP, but we're able to get a third Earthquake off, which means we take down Steelix. Jasmine brings out her next Pokemon Magnemite, which we immediately outspeed and destroy with an Earthquake. And with that, the Mineral Badge is ours. Next, I head to Goldenrod City because someone tells me Team Rocket's been up to some shady business over there. But first I head to the daycare to pick up Ozai and see what level he's at. We get Ozai back at level 27, which means he's only got a little bit more to go until he is evolved into a Mag Cargo and we can use him. After about an hour of training, Ozai gets to level 38 and evolves into a Mag Cargo. Additionally, Ozai learns Lava Plume, which is going to be an invaluable resource while fighting our next rival battle. And speaking of rival battles, we run into Jet while infiltrating the Team Rocket headquarters in Goldenrod City. After crying because he couldn't find Lance to fight, he decides to settle with me and we start our next rival battle. Jet starts out with a Golbat and I start out with Toph. After getting hit with a bite, I have Toph use Rock Slide, which immediately one-shots the Golbat. Jet sends out the Meganium next and I'm forced to switch to Ozai. Meganium uses Petal Dance and does about 30% damage, but Flame Body from Ozai immediately gets the burn off. After a second Petal Dance brings us down to 26 HP, I have Ozai use Lava Plume, which brings Meganium down to a sliver of HP. And luckily, the burn takes Meganium out. Jet sends out Haunter next, and with Ozai being so low, I know I have to switch out. So I go into Katara. On the switch in, Katara gets hit by a Shadow Ball, and the next turn is outsped to get hit by a Confuse Ray. Luckily, Katara breaks through the confusion and is able to respond with a Shadow Ball of her own, which crits and one-shots Haunter, bringing him down. Jet sends his Magnemite in next, so we switch out to the Boulder to use the same strat we used with Jasmine. Outspeed and one-shot with Earthquake, which brings Jet down to his last Pokemon, Sneasel. We switch out to Katara, who immediately takes a Fury Swipes, and then is outsped on the next turn to hit us with a Feint Attack down to 19 HP. Luckily, we're able to retaliate with a Crit Surf, but it brings the Sneasel down to just a sliver of HP. Being on such low health, I have to bring back Katara and bring out Toph again. The Sneasel is able to hit us with 2 Feint Attacks down to half HP, then we're able to respond with one of our own and take the Sneasel out. You can't scare us anymore, Jet. Just face it, we're way stronger than you now. And after training our team up to the level cap, we are ready to take on Claire. Claire starts off with a Gyarados and I start off with Toph. Gyarados immediately goes for a Dragon Rage and I retaliate with a Rock Slide, but since the Intimidate dropped our attack, it only does about 60% damage. Next turn, I use Sucker Punch to get some extra damage off, and the Gyarados uses yet another Dragon Rage. Since I know the next turn Claire's gonna heal Gyarados, I go for another Rock Slide, which crits and takes the Gyarados out in one hit. Next up, Claire sends out her ace Kingdra, and I know nobody can really take a Hydro Pump on my team, so I go out into the Boulder to take one for the team. Your sacrifice will never be forgotten. This gives us a free switch in to Katara, and the Kingdra uses another Hydro Pump, bringing us down low, and we are able to set up a light screen. Knowing Katara can't take another Hydro Pump, I switch out to Suyin. Luckily on the switch in, the Kingdra uses a Smoke Screen. The next turn, the Kingdra keeps spamming Smoke Screen, bringing us down to -2 accuracy, but we still hit our flash, bringing the Kingdra down to -1 accuracy. And even with -1 accuracy, the Kingdra goes for Hydro Pump the next turn, and it lands, dealing about 25 damage to us because of the light screens. Luckily for us, the Kingdra misses its next Hydro Pump, and the next 3 turns, I get a quick Claw Pop and use Flash. And fortunately for us, I brought the Kingdra's accuracy down low enough to where it misses 3 turns in a row as well. But on the 4th turn, it broke through with a Dragon Pulse and hit us down to 22 HP. But this game, luck was on our side because I used Rest and it quick clawed, so Suyin did not take any more damage and was able to heal to full. While asleep, the Kingdra misses a Dragon Pulse, but then hits us with a Hyper Beam for only 10 damage. When Suyin wakes up, I have her use Bug Bite, stealing the Citrus Berry from the Kingdra and healing us up to full. Once the Kingdra was out of Hydro Pumps, it started Hyper Beaming Suyin, which pretty much only Suyin could take, so I used the Rest strategy, and using Dig and Rest alternating, I was able to stall the Kingdra out of Hyper Beams. I then proceed to use Bug Bite to bring Kingdra down to the red, so Claire will heal her, giving us a free switch in turn so we can bring out Katara. But it turns out Claire didn't go for a potion and instead went to attack, but fortunately it was just a smoke screen, which landed. That gave me a free turn to use a recover with Katara and heal her pretty much all the way to full. The next turn I have Katara put up a light screen while the Kingdra misses a Dragon Pulse. After 2 turns of both Katara and the Kingdra missing each other, Claire decides to withdraw the Kingdra and bring out one of her Dragonairs. Dragonair starts off with a Dragon Pulse doing about 10 damage, and then after Katara misses Surf, hits us with a Thunder Wave, paralyzing us. Katara proceeds to take 3 more Dragon Pulses to the face, bringing her down to 13 HP before I'm able to use Recover. After using Recover twice to bring her up to full health, I start using Surf against the Dragonair. Katara then proceeds to get paralyzed for 2 turns in a row, bringing her down to 19 HP, and at that point I don't want to risk it, so I switch into Suyin. Because Suyin's attack is so low, there's really no point in attacking, so I just start using Flash until it's -6. Then I start having Suyin use Bug Bite to do chip damage. 5 Bug Bites and a crit later, Dragonair is finally taken down. Claire pulls out her Kingdra, which is at such low health that even a Bug Bite from Suyin would take her out. The Kingdra hits with a smoke screen, but that's not enough to deter Suyin from landing the final blow with a Bug Bite. And with that, we're on to the last Dragonair. I have Suyin start out by using flashes, but then misses twice in a row. After 6 flashes, the Dragonair's at -6 accuracy, and I have Suyin start Bug Biting everything. And she almost gets the Dragonair with the crit Bug Bite, but then Claire uses a full restore on the Dragonair and we have to start it all over again. After using all the power points on Bug Bite, we start using Dig, and it takes to the very last Dig to take this Dragonair out, but we're finally able to do it. Geez, that was probably the hardest fight of the run so far. And even though we worked really hard to win, Claire still doesn't give us a gym badge. She says that we have to go to the Dragon Cave and get some old guy's permission to get a gym badge from her. So I head over to where the Dragon Elders preside, and they already knew why I was coming. They knew Claire would not give me a gym badge without their permission. And they explained to me all I have to do is answer a few questions on a quiz. And I'm out here answering these questions like it's a speed round and passing with flying colors, baby. They grade my answers and decide I pass. Claire comes in expecting me to fail so she doesn't have to give me the gym badge, but I'm a friend of Pokemon and they are not my tools. Claire accuses me of lying because not even she can pass a how to respect Pokemon test. The Dragon Elders step in and tell Claire that if she does not give me the badge, that they will call Papa Lance and have her removed from the Dragon Council immediately. And with that, Claire concedes, shoves the Rising Badge into my hand, quite rudely if you ask me, and then runs away. And now that we possess all 8 gym badges, we're ready to take on the Pokemon Johto League. But first we have to stop into Victory Road for our next encounter. We find a level 35 Rhyhorn, and I decide since it's our last Pokemon of the game, we're gonna catch it with a Master Ball. After catching him, I name him Boomy, who has a naughty nature. Directly afterward, I go ahead and level up Boomy in Victory Road up to level 42 so he evolves, and then we take on Jet for the last time of the game. Jet starts out with Sneasel, and I start out with Ozai. And as I go to attack, I realize I made a huge mistake by not healing my Pokemon after a grinding session, which is going to make the battle quite a bit harder for me, but I start off by using Lava Plume with Ozai, and Sneasel goes for a Feint Attack. And while Feint Attack doesn't do much to Ozai, Lava Plume destroys the Sneasel in one hit, and we're off to the next Pokemon. Jet sends out his Golbat, and since Ozai doesn't have any more ancient powers, we switch out to Toph, who takes a bite on the switch-in. But as I go to attack, I realize I used all of the PP on Rock Slide as well, so we don't have a stab super effective move with Toph either. So instead, I have Toph use Sucker Punch, which deals about 50% damage to the Golbat, while the Golbat retaliates with another bite, but it only does around 11 damage. I attempt to change the strat and use Double Edge with Toph, but the Golbat bites me and flinches me 3 turns in a row, bringing me down to 31 HP, so I don't feel comfortable using Double Edge anymore due to the recoil. So I'm forced to switch out of Toph and go into Katara, who luckily has PP on her Power Gem, so I go ahead and use that. And 1 Power Gem is all it takes to take out the Golbat. Jet sends out his Magneton next, so I know I have to switch out back into Ozai. On the switch-in, Ozai takes a Spark and it gets paralyzed from it, which is very unfortunate for us. I go for a Sunny Day to set up the sun, and Magneton retaliates by hitting me with a crit Spark, bringing me down to 37 HP. But now that we have the sun up, we're ready to one-shot whatever comes our way, so we take a Spark and then use Lava Plume to one-shot the Magneton. And now Jet sends out his Ace Meganium, and I was kind of expecting to have Ozai one-shot with a Sunny Day Lava Plume, but since he's at such low health and paralyzed, I have to switch out into Su Yin to hopefully take on Meganium all by herself. And you already know what strat we're going for by now if we're using Su Yin. We get 3 flashes up, then rest because we're at 21 HP, and then we just start digging away for that chip damage. And since Meganium has been pedal dancing the entire time, it doesn't take long to hurt itself in confusion enough along with our digs to take her out. With only 2 Pokemon left, Jet decides to send out Haunter. But since we only have digs on Su Yin and Haunter has Levitate, I'm forced to switch out back into Katara. On the switch-in, Katara gets hit by a Confuse Ray, and then after that, since we're definitely slower than a Haunter, she gets hit by a Shadow Ball as well, bringing her down to half health. But after that, she then gets hit in Confusion, bringing her even lower. This is not looking good for Katara. So I attempt to get back to full HP by using a Recover, but the Haunter uses a Curse. He is out for blood today. So with Katara cursed and confused, I bring her back because I do not want to lose her. And we go back to square one with Su Yin. After setting up 6 flashes on the Haunter and only getting hit by 2 Shadow Balls, we're down to only being able to use Dig and Rest. So what I have to do is rest all the Haunter until he uses 1 more curse, and then he struggles for the last 1 HP, which ended up being a really close battle because Su Yin only had 2 more PP for rest left. And with Haunter out of the way, Jet sends his last Pokemon in, Kadabra. And after recovering to get my health to full, he got 2-shot by Surf. And with that, we are done with rival battles. We never have to worry about anyone annoying us with a random battle again this run. And now we can head on to the Johto League without any more interruptions. But first, we run into an old man and an Abra looking lonely, and I go over to talk to him. The old man tells me that he and Abra normally teleport people home after they finish the league, but unfortunately people have been flying, and now he just feels left out. Poor guy, I just want to give them both a big hug. And now we can actually go to the Elite Four without any more interruptions. So now it's time to take on our first Elite Four member, Will. Will starts out with Xatu, and I start out with Boomy. Xatu starts out with a Confuse Ray, and then Boomy gets hurt in Confusion, unfortunately. On the next turn, the Xatu uses U-turn and goes into Slowbro. But at least Boomy snaps out of Confusion and uses Shadow Claw on the Slowbro, dealing about 20% damage to it. I go ahead and pull Boomy out and throw out Katara, who gets hit in the face by a Water Pulse and does a lot more than I expected, to be honest with you. But at least we're able to retaliate with a Power Gem, bringing the Slowbro down to about 20% HP. The next turn, Slowbro uses Curse, but that's not enough to keep Katara from destroying him on the next Power Gem. Will brings Xatu back out next, and we use another Power Gem, but Xatu uses me first, so he gets to go first with Power Gem, but fortunately we're Rock type, so it doesn't do much damage at all. Meanwhile, our Power Gem brings the Xatu down to about 10% HP in the red. Will uses one of his full restores on Xatu's, so I'm able to use another Power Gem, bringing him back down to the red. Anticipating the Xatu to attack me, I go ahead and use Recover, and it does use Psychic, bringing us down to 21 HP. After our recovery brings us up to 78 HP, I expect I'm gonna get attacked again, so I want to recover one more time to be at full health for the next Pokemon. When Xatu uses U-turn and brings out Jinx instead. But hey, that's pretty much a free recovery up to full, so I'm not gonna complain about it. The next turn, Jinx misses a Lovely Kiss, so we get a free Power Gem off, doing a little bit more than half health. The next turn, Jinx lands the Lovely Kiss, but I knew Katara was gonna fight Jinx, so I put a Chesto Berry on her, so this wouldn't matter. And we're able to retaliate with a Power Gem, taking the Jinx out. And here comes Will's favorite Pokemon to switch into. It's Xatu for his next Pokemon. And I thought the Xatu might use me first again like last time, so I used Light Screen and hit him with a Surf next turn to take him out. Next up comes out Will's Exeggutor, and I know I have to switch out, so I go ahead and switch into Ozai. Unfortunately for me, the Exeggutor was using Hypnosis on the switch in, so Ozai gets put to sleep. And after 2 turns of tanking a Psychic, going down to 22 HP, Ozai finally wakes up and uses Lava Plume. And with the Charcoal boost, it's able to one-shot the Exeggutor. And can you guess who Will switches into next? That's right, it's Xatu! On the switch in, Xatu hits me with an Ominous Wind, and then after that, a Psychic, bringing Katara down to 38 HP. But at least we get a Light Screen off in return. And with Light Screen up, I'm gonna live a Psychic as long as I don't get crit. So I go ahead and use Recover, and thankfully, the next Psychic only brings me down to 17 HP, but it also lowers the special defense. After recovering, I have Katara use Power Gem, bringing the Xatu down to about 25% HP, which pops its Citrus Berry. I decide to go ahead and recover, which is good because the next Psychic brings me down to 15 HP on Katara. I also use the next turn to recover up to full, while Xatu uses Confuse Ray on Katara. But because of the Confuse Ray, Katara hits herself in confusion instead, bringing her down to 55 HP. So I decide I'm gonna have to bring in the wall herself to finish off the rest of the battle, Su Yin. And you already know the drill: set up 6 flashes, rest up when needed, and then just all out attack with the bug bites. And with Will using a full restore on the Xatu halfway through the battle, this 1v1 Su Yin versus the Xatu took me 10 minutes, but eventually Su Yin was able to pull through and defeat Xatu all on her own. And with Will down, we're ready for the next Elite Four member, Koga. Koga starts out with an Ariados, and I start out with Ozai. Ariados starts off by hitting us with a Giga Drain, which doesn't do much at all, and then we use Amnesia to get +2 special attack. The next turn we get Spiderweb by Ariados, which lowers our speed, but that doesn't matter because we're a snail. We clap back with a +2 Lava Plume, decimating the Ariados. Next up is Koga's Fortress, which is perfect for us. Fortress uses Protect to negate the Lava Plume turn 1, but turn 2 he uses Toxic Spikes, and we're able to take him out after that. Koga brings out a Muck next and starts using Minimize, but luckily we hit our first Lava Plume, and while it doesn't do much damage, we do get the burn off. And with the Muck having Black Sludge, it basically negates it, which is quite good for us. Over the next 2 turns, Muck misses 2 Toxics, and I hit 1 Lava Plume, bringing it down to the yellow. But unfortunately, the burn brings it down to full restore range, meaning that we don't have any more burn on it afterwards. I used an Ancient Power hoping to get the Omni Boost from it, but unfortunately we didn't, and then the Muck just starts minimizing. We miss Lava Plume 3 turns in a row, giving the Black Sludge a chance to heal Muck back up to full from the Ancient Power. Once Muck gets to +5 evasiveness, we finally hit with another Lava Plume and actually get the burn again this time. The Muck retaliates with a Toxic, but I knew what I was doing, and I put a Pecha Berry on every one of my teammates. And then we're able to retaliate again with another Lava Plume that connects. Over the next 4 turns, we miss every single one of our moves while the burn does chip damage, and we tank gunk shots until we're down to 15 HP. And I was hoping the burn would take him down because he's quite low on HP, but it must have brought him down to only 1 HP. So I have to switch Ozai out. I bring in Su Yin, who gets poisoned by the spikes and is able to tank a gunk shot, and that gives the burn a chance to take out the Muck on its own. Next up, Koga brings out Venomoth, and I start with the classic Su Yin strat of flashing 6 times and then doing stuff. But the Venomoth obviously outspeeds and hits us with a Supersonic first. Once the Venomoth was at -6 accuracy, I used Dig repeatedly until it died because Dig hits Venomoth for some reason. Next up, Koga brings out his Crobat, and he's got literally the same strat as me. I use Flash and he's using Double Team. That's all there is to it. Once Crobat's at -6 accuracy and +6 evasiveness, I start attacking with Bug Bite. Luckily, in the same turn, he hits a Wing Attack and I hit a Bug Bite, stealing his Citrus Berry. I decide this is going nowhere, so I bring back Suyin and pull out Boomy, who gets poisoned by the spikes. Since Crobat's evasiveness is so high, I decide to go for a Sandstorm for guaranteed damage every turn. And then after 3 turns of both of us missing our attacks, I finally am able to land a Shadow Claw. And when I get Crobat down to half health, Koga just comes in and all he says is oof. That's what this entire battle is making me feel like when we can't hit each other. The next turn, I'm able to hit a Shadow Claw again, bringing the Crobat down to about 30% health. But on the same turn, the Crobat uses Wing Attack and brings us down to 22 health. And with my poison, it's not looking good for Boomy. And after the poison damage, he lives on only 3 health. Thank Arceus. And with Boomy only on 3 health, I know I have to pull him out now, so I bring out Toph. And the same turn, I bring out Toph, Koga uses a Forest Roar on the Crobat. And on turn 1, I had Toph use Attract, which turned out to be the right move because it did not miss. And speaking of not missing, Toph lands a Rock Slide on the Crobat next turn, bringing it down to about 5% HP. And I was really hoping the Sandstorm damage would do it, but unfortunately the Sandstorm just brought it almost there, but not quite. And since I know that Koga's probably going to attack next with the Crobat, I use Sucker Punch with Toph, and it takes him out. And now that we're halfway done with the Elite Four with no deaths, I'm feeling good, but next we take on the scariest member for us, Bruno. Bruno starts off with Hitmontop, and I start off with Boomy. And while doing research on Bruno's team, I noticed that Hitmontop has Dig, so I start off with Earthquake, and I predicted right because Hitmontop started with Dig. And with the double power Earthquake, it guarantees a one-shot on the Hitmontop for an easy KO. Next up, Bruno sends out a Hitmonlee and uses Swagger immediately on Boomy, but Boomy ain't taking that because he breaks right through the confusion and hits with a +2 Earthquake, one-shotting the Hitmonlee. Bruno sends out Hitmonchan next, and we get a Quick Claw pop on the first turn and break through the confusion still for another +2 Earthquake, taking out the Hitmonchan before it can even attack. Next up, Bruno brings out the scariest Pokemon on his team for us, Machamp. Machamp starts off strong by hitting us with a Cross Chop down to 18 HP, but luckily we snap out of confusion and hit him with a +2 Earthquake, bringing him down to what has to be 1 HP, where he heals from a Citrus Berry. And I know we can't switch anyone in on this Machamp because he'll cross chop one-shot everyone, so I have to let Boomy go. But Boomy, I don't think we could have ever won this Elite Four battle without you, so Godspeed, my friend. Next up, I bring out Toph, and I have her use Attract, but she still gets hit with a cross shot because Machamp outspeeds, down to 19 HP. And luckily next turn, the Machamp is immobilized by Love, giving me a chance to use Double Edge, which is still a risky strat because I'm at such low HP, but I have to go for it to one-shot this Machamp. And I surely thought Toph was going to go down with this, but she lives on 5 HP. And Bruno brings out Onix next, which I know Toph cannot handle on 5 HP, so I bring in Katara, who gets hit by an Earthquake down to 57 HP, but at least that pops the Oran Berry. And I know from experience that Onix are pretty fast, so I know that I'm going to have to tank one more Earthquake after this, and I'm just hoping there isn't a crit in there. But Katara lives on 7 HP, meaning that Oran Berry was the most valuable Oran Berry I've ever used. And now she's able to retaliate with Surf and one-shot the Onix, meaning Bruno's down, and we just have one more to go. Next up is Karen of the Elite Four, possibly one of the most annoying Elite Four members in Pokemon history. Karen starts out with an Umbreon and I start out with Ozai. Karen starts off by using a double team and I use a Lava Plume. The next turn, Umbreon uses Confuse Ray to confuse Ozai and he hits himself in confusion. But luckily the next turn, Ozai snaps out of the confusion while Karen's still setting up double teams and uses Lava Plume, burning the Umbreon. Karen decides to withdraw Umbreon on the turn that I use Amnesia, so luckily Houndoom, when he came out, did not get a Flash Fire boost. Houndoom decides to match my special defense by using Nasty Plot, and I use Ancient Power to do 50% damage to him. The next turn I use Ancient Power again, thinking that it'll kill him, but it low rolls and he lives on what has to be 5 HP, popping his Citrus. Houndoom brings Ozai low with another Dark Pulse, but after another Ancient Power, it's over for Houndoom, and she brings out Gengar. And since I know Gengar's faster than me, I'm thinking that Ozai has to get sacked off, because there's no one else on my team that can tank a Focus Blast from Gengar. But luckily on turn 1, Gengar misses his Focus Blast, allowing me to use Ancient Power and getting a crit, bringing Gengar down to about 40% HP. But next turn, I wasn't so lucky, and Ozai gets hit by a Focus Blast, taking him out. I'm not really sure what I would have done without Gengar being at half health, because next we can bring out Toph and use Sucker Punch to take him out without any other damage. Karen brings out Vileplume, and I have Toph attempt a Rock Slide, but Vileplume outspeeds and paralyzes us with Stun Spore, and it procs, paralyzing Toph. The next turn, Toph gets hit down to 22 HP from a Petal Dance, and is still paralyzed 2 turns in a row. So I know Toph can't stay in any longer, so I bring in Su Yin. And you already know the classic Flash and Rest Su Yin strat is coming into effect in full force this battle. After about 25 turns of PP stalling the Vileplume's Moonlight out, we finally are able to get it down with a Dig and Bug Bite combo. Next up is Murkrow, and I still flash the Murkrow because the Murkrow actually knows Whirlwind, which is not good with topping at such low HP. So I get 3 flashes in before Murkrow finally lands a Whirlwind. And just like an unlucky rubber ducky, Toph gets brought out at 22 HP and paralyzed. So I have to hard switch out to Katara, which one-shots the Murkrow with Power Gem. And now we're on to the last Pokemon, the Burned Umbreon. I start recovering up to full health while the Umbreon double teams, and the Burn brings the Umbreon down to full restore status, and then gets healed. And once Umbreon's at +6 evasiveness, it takes me about 20 turns to finally squeak out the win against the Umbreon, just because I could not hit it. But that means Karen is down and we're finally ready for Lance the Dragon Master. But I'm kind of sweating because we only have 3 Pokemon to defeat his 6. And finally, we've slugged through all of Johto just for this one chance to become champion. Lance, you're going down. Lance starts out with a Gyarados and I start out with Toph. With the Intimidate drop, there's only one way that I know that we can win this, and that's if I use Quick Claw on Toph and get an attack. And luckily, that's exactly what happens. Unfortunately, the Gyarados still was able to use Waterfall on Toph, bringing her down to 64 HP, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. And the next turn, the Quick Claw pops again for Toph, enabling her to use Rock Slide, and then she gets a crit to one-shot the Gyarados. That is probably the luckiest I will ever be in Pokemon, and I have peaked on my first episode. Next up, Lance brings out his Dragonite, and we can't be lucky forever, so we get hit with a Thunder, bringing Toph down. I bring in Su Yin, who immediately gets hit with a Thunder Wave and then paralyzed on the first turn. The next turn, Su Yin gets hit with a Dragon Rush and then paralyzed again. But our bad luck streak isn't over yet because we get hit with a Dragon Rush on the 3rd turn, popping our Citrus, and then we flinch. Luckily, Su Yin evades the next Dragon Rush, and we get a Flash off for once. And once the Dragonite misses, it doesn't stop because we're able to flash 3 times in a row, then rest, and the Dragonite misses every single Dragon Rush until the last turn of my rest. Once the Dragonite was at -6 accuracy, I bring out Katara. The Dragonite misses its first Thunder Wave, so I'm able to put up a light screen, but the next Thunder Wave hit. Luckily, the next 3 turns, the Dragonite keeps missing and we're not paralyzed, so we're able to take it out with 3 Power Gems. And then Lance brings out another Dragonite, who on the first turn hits us with a Dragon Rush down to 23 HP. Luckily, we're able to retaliate with a Power Gem, but that only does about a third of the Dragonite's HP. I bring Su Yin out to do the same strat we did with the last one, but 2 Dragon Rushes got Su Yin down to 3 health before I was able to rest up. And unfortunately, the Dragonite was able to take out Su Yin before she even woke up. And then lastly, the Dragonite outspeeds to take out Katara too, meaning that we've lost the run. It turns out Lance's pseudo-legendaries were a bit much for me on this run, but don't worry guys, I hold grudges and I'm not gonna let Lance hold that win over me forever. I hope you guys enjoyed the ride, and if you did, why not hit that subscribe button to join all the other pandas in the bamboo forest. And as a special thank you for sticking around this long, I'll go ahead and give you a sneak preview of next week's project. This little guy's gonna be in it, so I hope you guys stick around, and if you're subscribed, I'll see you next week.